People who are caregivers for sick or suffering people are susceptible to what's called compassion fatigue. Managing it is a challenge for all caregivers. Licensed professional counselor Dr. Bill Baker is here to tell us about it and what we can do to avoid it. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm glad to be here, Nora.
What exactly is compassion fatigue?
Compassion fatigue is basically the secondary traumatic stress that we can develop through our efforts to work with and help people who are suffering from traumatic events. The condition sometimes is called caregiver stress or compassion stress. Essentially, we reach a point in our caregiving activities when we start experiencing physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion. Symptoms include things like increased irritability, sleep problems, decreased satisfaction with life. We can even become resentful, cynical, and sarcastic toward the very person we're trying to help. The underlying problem is that we're out of balance, in that we are overly focused on the person we're trying to help, while at the same time we neglect to practice good stewardship of ourselves. When we fail to take good care of ourselves, we are very prone to or vulnerable to compassion fatigue.
And this isn't something that just affects children caring for their parents. This could also be first responders?
Yes, people who deal with first response situation, paramedics, policemen, those kinds of folks are more likely to experience it more quickly, but is exposed to a short-term or a long-term situation who is suffering, heavily to this compassion fatigue.
So obviously you don't want to take out your frustrations on that person that you're trying to help. So what do you do in this situation?
Well, some stress is normal and natural when we're working with someone who's suffering. The first goal is to prevent the normal stress from turning into compassion fatigue. The second goal is to learn to manage the fatigue if it does occur. I might suggest 2 or 3 things. One thing is we can redefine our roles. Our purpose is to be physically present and helpful to the person we're trying to help. We are not to take on or personalize the person's pain. We need to let him experience his own pain. So we need to recognize and accept our limitations as caregivers. Secondly, we need to recharge our batteries. Because we're not the Energizer Bunny, we need time for rest and relaxation, nutrition, exercise, regular medical checkups, and we need to resist the temptation to depend upon alcohol, illicit drugs, or other addictive, patterns in our efforts to cope. And then thirdly, we need to restructure our stressors. That is, we take our to-do list and we prioritize it. We are most important, and we give ourselves permission to leave undone the things of lesser importance. And we identify resources like respite care to spell us or give us a break, and we add them to our personal support system.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Baker, for talking to us about compassion fatigue and ways